Causality, exploring cause and effect in Spiritist teachings. Daniel will be speaking to us of this amazing topic, which is cause and effect, right? On how things happen in our lives and the reason sometimes on, why it happen in our lives. But it's a moment that we have to extract him from the back and bring him over here because he's so entangled over there.
Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you, Leo. Hello, Paula. Okay, so hello everyone again. Welcome to the Spirit Society of Baltimore. For those that are watching us online, so welcome too. So today we're gonna have less than 1 hour to go to this topic, the principle of causality. Right, Kirsten? That's the way we pronounce this. It's not causality, right? Because that's another thing, right? I'm saying this because someone asked, "Oh, is this spelled correctly?" I think so, right? So our approach is going to be basically according to the Spiritist teachings. So I know that you may, Daniel, cause and effect, action and reaction. So we all have an idea. Well, we all know this, but why we bring this subject to discuss under the light of Spiritism? Because this is pretty much the foundation of everything. The universe, our life, the relationships that we have, everything that we do in action through our thoughts is based on this law of cause and effect. So we put the books over there, the Spirit's book, the Gospel according to Spiritism, Heaven and Hell. These three books that so pretty much we got some elements from these three books because it's the one that really go a little bit deep in Spiritism to explain about this law of cause and effect. And we put at the action and reaction is that book here. And Kirsten Liu has went through this book before, like doing some highlight of each chapter. And that book is more like a case study, I would say. This is more textbook. That's case study, which means we're going to have examples of brothers and sisters that fail or the opposite of fail, achieve, or, succeed in their experience when they were incarnate here in the planet Earth. Okay, so to start, let us bring some elements. For example, the principle of causality asserts that every effect has a cause. True or false? True. Like, for example, in that picture over there, if I push one of them and hit the other one, so there is a cascade effect, right? So in the Spirit's book, in the prolegomena, that is in the introduction that Kardec put together, so we find that statement. Reason tells us that an intelligence effect must have an intelligence force, as it calls. And the facts have shown that this force can communicate with human beings through physical means. So why Kardec is saying this? Because in preparing this book, the Spirit's book, that is a philosophical book where he took the approach of question and answers. So he wanted to establish from the beginning that what he was observing with the turning table phenomena has some type of intelligence. As he says, how that the intelligent effect, because he was observing what? The effect, right? So he was now think about, well, if the table cannot speak, otherwise we have to attribute that the table would have a brain. We are talking about the 19th century here, right? So then he has to search for the cause. And we know by searching for the cause, he find out that those information that he was getting from those type of meeting was coming from the spirits. That's why we call the name of the book the Spirit's book. It's not Kardec's book. It's from the Spirit. He just put together, as an editor-in-chief, put together the book. Okay, so another information in Spiritism. This universal law is essential to understand the nature of our existence, moral responsibility, and the spiritual evolution. So we need to take in consideration that there is a universal law, as we mentioned here. That's Spiritism teaching, Spiritist teachings, right? That we touch, that take cause and effect, very serious, that will be help us to explain why we are here, why we were before, and what would be our future. Also, is going to bring to us the moral responsibilities that we need to have in order to succeed in this life. And of course, by doing everything right, we will spiritual evolve, right? We'll be evolving, spiritually speaking. So now, since we are talking about cause and effect, and we know that everything that we do has consequence, right? The same thing that we see here, every event or circumstance arises from preceding cause. We may ask the question, why do I have the type of life that I have, for example? Why I was born in this family? Why I moved from one place to another? Why I have this brother and sister? Why I have this boss? Why? So, perfectly legitimate type of question. We must ask those questions. Now, the moment we ask those questions, we need to incorporate certain elements for us that we use our reason to answer, because we can answer just to ourselves. We may not answer in a very clear way, but since we are observing a fact and we now assume through our intelligence that every effect has a cause, then everything that we are living, the way we living, our relationships, the boss that I have, Daniel, but how about free will? We're going to touch about free will. So there is a cause. We may not know all the cause, but one thing I wanted to disclose to you, and the Spiritism has disclosed to me, is that everything that happens in our life, we have almost 100% of contribution for that. We are responsible for that. It's not that God put us in this way. I mean, God created the laws, but at the end of the day, we participate in the outcome, in the planning of our life as a spirit. Daniel, why you say that? Well, because we learned that we are the intelligent principle of the universe. So we are creature. So the moment we are created, we also had some liberty to use a potential, a faculty that we call intelligence for us to evolve. And we can see this since the animal kingdom until the human kingdom and so on, the angelical kingdom. So, but when we look at the animal kingdom, the intelligence that we observe, they are very that's rudimentary in type of intelligence, which means they are in that process. They are not continual intelligence in the sense that we have continual reason. So even if we can or not identified, we are thinking continuously. Even if you say, let me empty my mind when we do meditation, we are not truly empty our mind. There is no way we can empty our mind. We can suppress thoughts to go. We can focus. That's why when we do meditation, we focus on something, right? That's why people, when they do meditation, they need to have some mantra or candle, or some type of thing to focus, we can focus. We can, but to empty our mind is a philosophical way to say when we do a meditation, right? Because there is no way we can empty our mind in the sense of empty, like our will empty, like remove everything from one place to another place. Going back to our discussion. And this is in the Spiritist book. This is just highlight that we find in the question 100 to 132 to 133. I don't want to bring all the question and answers to you guys here. We approach a different way to pass information because we want you to go and read the book. Or come Thursday night and study question by question in our study group. Nothing happened without reason. And dominance is only apparent, right? So, okay, so we are discussing about the principle of causality. So, but often we say that thing happened by chance, right? Was a random thing that happened by chance, right? There is nothing wrong. We say that. That is okay. What we cannot do is fixing everything that happened is not. I mean, happened to us. We talk about we, the individual, right? We are not talk. There is, there is somehow a cascade of events that happens to lead to that result, right? So in that way, we can say that nothing is by chance, right? Spiritism emphasizes that moral and spiritual consequence always follow this law. Consequences, right? Also, always now, also follow this law. So, so we talk here about moral, right? And there is another word for moral that we ethical. Is moral and ethical the same thing? Be moral, be ethical is the same thing. Okay, we're gonna discuss about this. So before we go to moral and ethical, what is the difference? They are similar, but there is a little difference between these two, a word that we use a lot. Is there any difference between cause and effect versus action and reaction? What do you guys think? Yes, I wanted the microphone here because if you said yes, I want to hear your thought on that. Yes, sir. What's the difference, Dr. Paula Schmidt? There is no difference? Okay, who thinks that they are different? Raise your hand. You said that. Oh, nobody wanted to say that there's. Oh my God, nobody wanted to have the mic. Come on, guys. You can drop the mic here if you nail this. Okay. In Spiritism, action and reaction is a mechanism within the great law of cause and effect. We can say that is the same thing, but there is subtle difference. So when we say it is a mechanism within the great law of cause and effect, do you guys study this in school? The third law of Isaac Newton. Who was Isaac Newton? Okay, the guy of the apple, the one that created the apple here, right? The guy that looked at the apple, boom, okay. Not the apple, the cell phone, okay. Okay. So this third law pretty much says that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If I punch this wall, the wall is going to punch my hand back with the same amount of force that I exert in this wall, right? So, and they have the little thing over there. So now when we talk about action and reaction, we are talking about immediate thing. So I said something, the person reacts that way, right? But not necessarily the reaction can be immediately. I may say something, I may do something in this life, but there is no repercussion in this life, which means never gonna have a reaction or a consequence of that act. Why you shake your head, Paula? No, you need to talk in the mic because otherwise people is gonna scream in the internet. But go ahead.
Trying to get me to
Close.
talk. Okay, hi. I thought the question was, will there ever be a reaction if you don't get it in this life? Yes, there will be. It'll just come in a later life.
Perfect. Very good. We read the same book. Perfect. You nailed. You dropped the mic over there. Yes. Yes. So in that sense, we can say that when we use action and reaction, we are taking the approach of a result, immediate result. That's why it's perfectly acceptable action and reaction, the physical plane, the physicality, right? But also we can translate this to the moral side, to our behavior, right? Because I may say something to you, there is no reaction, outside reaction, but there is some physiological reaction that is not emotion. We call this emotion, right? That is not expressed in that moment, but there is a reaction. Okay, reaction be explicit or implicit, right? So in that way, when we talk about action and reaction in Spiritism, we can include this as part of this greatest law that we call cause and effect, right? In fact, this law pretty much is responsible for everything. I mean, we have other laws, physical laws that we learned, but all this physical law is kind of derivative from this law of cause and effect. Now, why I'm bringing this point for us to reflect? Because I know that people don't want to talk about death. Nobody wanted to talk about death. That's why we put afterlife over there, because I was thinking like, maybe I should say after we die. Daniel, I didn't come to the Spirit Center to, learn about death now. So I wanted to learn about how to live better, how to solve my problem. But then I was watching a talk a couple weeks ago, and this speaker, I put the YouTube link over there. George Alaha, he mentioned something very interesting that made me think that it is here, but he summarized in 5 points what happened when we pass to the other side, right? After we die, the death of the physical body. And he said that majority of the time, of course, is not like set in stone. There is 5 things that happen to us. The first one, continuation of life. So some of us that are not educated spiritually, they never think that we continue living, may think that we're going to go to the other side and nothing, right, happen. Or we're going to be sleeping forever. Or you know what I mean? So we're going to face that, we're going to realize that life continues after the death of the physical body. You may say, Daniel, but we studied books of André Luiz, and especially in the book that we just studied, that's a movie, Nosso Lar 2, The Messenger, and we see that there is example over there in this book, that there are spirits that they died, but they continue sleeping, right? And there is an explanation that why some people, when they die, they didn't realize that they are dead, and they continue sleeping the other side. So what we wanted to disclose here is that at each case of death is by its own case, right? So we cannot generalize this. But those group of people that is in that situation, they are really come to a very difficult type of transition. So they need to stay in that state of sleeping, right? So, but majority of the time, we become surprised. And we see this in the movies, in books, right? That the person, wow, why am I? And for example, when we have our mediumship meeting here, we see a lot of the spirit that comes in our meetings that the first thing they ask, what this place, where I am now? I was in the hospital, now I'm here. While I was driving, now I'm here, I'm confused. So there is this moment that we call spiritual perturbation. So this is something normal, okay? Because the level of evolution that we are not yet so educated, spiritually speaking. We may have a PhD in in something that's related to matter, right? But in terms of spirituality, there is no degree for PhDs, right? Even people that's called spiritists, when the moment of the death comes, we panic. Aka Chico Xavier, right? That he was in the airplane and the airplane was about to fail and to fall, and he desperate was asking for his mentor to help. So this type of thing has to do with the mechanism of survival. That is something that is building in our physiology. Because when we become a spirit, we don't die, because the spirit don't die, right? So is the preservation of the instrument that was given to us by God, that is the physical body, that help us, and also all the stuff that, sometimes we say, oh my goodness, really? My life just passed, and I still have more stuff to do, but now I have to go? No, I don't want to go, right? So there is also that, that feeling as well that may happen to us. Self-realization. We realize that one's life was not as good as they believed, and that social duties alone are insufficient for future happiness. So, put this in plain language. We think that we are good people, right? Until we die. Oh, I did everything, guess what? I did my charity, I did this. I never thought bad about anyone. I'm a good guy. So when we go to the other side, there is this small detail of self-realization that we realize that we are not so good as we think we were when we are here. Absence of external judgment, very good one. I like this one. The realization that there are no external judge or tribunals in the spiritual world to pass judgment on them, on us. And we learn in the Spirit's book, question 600, Leo 21 or 25, that the law of God is written in our, which question is that? I don't know. You can Google over there or ask AI over there. 625 or 21. Leo, help him there. So Leo is going to check over there. I think 621 was 21, right? Okay. So why this is important? Because at the end of the day, in another word, the end of our life, in the other side, nobody's going to come and put you in a tribunal. Although we see in the lower zone cases of spirit that can do that, but not in the sense that God has a book over there and they're going to make a decision. It's not God that we're going to do this. It's our conscience that will judge ourselves. The complex of reincarnation. So we realize that reincarnation is a new opportunity to overcome imperfection, but, however, is not a simple process. So what that means is like, okay, now life continues. I was not a good person. Nobody's judging me. I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back and make amendment and have another opportunity. But then we look at the line, and the line is long. It's not a simple process. So there is order in the other side. Here, in our society, we have laws that govern our society. Do you think in the spiritual plane would be less than this? It's much more, I would say, well done, I would say, right? Much more, the laws over there is very well implemented. So we see a case, there is a case in one of the book of Brother X. We brought this case before. That's about this spirited work that spent his own life complaining and badmouth other people. When he went to the other side, he realized what he did, spent all his life complaining about everything. So he asked the mentor to reincarnate. And the man said, well, you prepare yourself for so many years, now we have to wait a little bit because the line of reincarnation, that is other priority. So that's one of the case. So we realize that the only way that we can advance fast is by come back and deal with the situation that we left undone, right? The challenge of transformation. We understand that personal suffering is a result of one own action, and the transformation is a difficult process. Daniel, what that means is that be here or there and have to make amendment, forgive, get rid of remorse, is not a piece of cake. It's a difficult process and may take time, right? But guess what? In the creation, with God's the divine laws, there's no hurry. We have all the time that we needed for us to evolve, right? Then why you brought this? Because this is something that is very tangible for us, that will that this law and cause and effect is the reason of this, right? But continue of life, what the law is that okay? So you are observing the state that you are because probably you are not mature enough to understand the process of the transition, right? So everything is the foundation is basically in the law of cause and effect. So we can say also our action, choice, and thoughts generate effects in our life and others. That's true, right? But there is one information here that is not there, and we see this in the book Heaven and Hell, is that when we talk about action, choice, and thoughts, so all these, when we say affect our life, is because all these control go first through our body, our physiology, and then go to others, right? So when we talk about emitting bad thoughts, so we experience those thoughts first. If I get angry, so I'm experience all the angry effect in my body first, right? And I display this in the environment that I am. Is something that is something wrong? No, it's part of our evolution. In the creation, everything is perfect. Even the worst person out there, for God, is perfect because he's a God creator. But there is however, a but, is that the moment that the creators and give the intelligence, also in the human kingdom, we acquire two factors: the intelligence, the reason, and also the free will. How to use that. And that's what makes us different, is that my choice to do this A or B will, for the eyes of the society, of that planet, will label that as a bad thing. But for God, nothing is bad, nothing is evil, everything is perfect. Because a perfect beings must be able to create everything perfect. Guys, philosophical, I'm philosophing. Philosophically speaking, we need to, using our reason, we need to accept that. Daniel, I cannot accept that because when I look at the news, when I look what happened, when people is doing over there, this is something related to God? No, it is not. That's not written in the creation. But there is one thing. There is the creation, and then there is the divine laws that control everything that we do. And if we infringe, do we say infringe? That law, the divine law, we may not pay, but we may be educated on that act. It's easy to understand this. So if you accept that, now we don't have any authority to point finger. Because if today a brother and sister is deviating from the divine laws, maybe we did this before, right? So look at how consoling it is when you really put this teaching, when you analyze nature through these teachings. There is no condemnation. We condemn ourselves. And that person, brother and sister, that condemns he or herself, will have to make adjustment with God's law. Daniel, but we live in society, and the society has law. Perfect. Because if we didn't have the civil laws, our society would be like completely nightmare. Going back to 3 slides before. That's rely moral and ethical. What is morality? Anyone would like, what is the difference between being a moral person and an ethical person? Well, okay, let's give some example here, and then you guys tell me. For example, when we talk about morality, we are talking about what we have inside of us. It's internal. Example, for example, I'm walking the street, and suddenly I see a wallet. So I get the wallet. Whatever you do with the wallet, define your level of morality. Now, if there is people walking, there is camera, you know that there is everything, then you get the wallet, and you try to find who lost that wallet, or give or ask or put in a lost and found if it is in a building. That type of action is ethical. But let's pretend that there is no camera, there is nobody watching. You find that and you put in your pocket and go away. That's define your moral level. So ethical is is related to a agreement in the society to keep the society balanced. But moral is something that we bring with us, is based on our evolution. If you find yourself in a situation that you look at the situation, you have a chance to take advantage of that situation, nobody's look at you like, I don't know, just like someone, for example, I'll give an example. You give to a cachet and someone you give $100 and someone give like, you buy a product and the product is like $50 and the person should return $50, but the person returned like $60 or $70. The person returned more, and you realize that, what you do. If some people, maybe you not realize, but you walk away of the place and you realize, do you go back and give the money? Or do you go, oh, guess what, free money, let me go. So that thing is internal. There is no one judging you, but that defines your moral state. So that's why we are here in the planet Earth. That's why we're not angel, because we somehow have done a little things, not the stolen, but other type of example, including the from here, there, including me, has like, oh, I took advantage of this, and oh my goodness, you know, we break the law every day, right? So every time you go above the speed limit, you are doing what? You're breaking the law, the civil law, right? Thanks God there is no state trooper at every corner, right? Because if you see a state trooper, what do you do? We like break a little bit. I'm saying this in a joking way because we are in the process. We should not like guilt ourselves. But this is the proposal that Spiritists brings to us. Here we put like, that we should remember that we are amazing. Sure. That we are important, that we are special, that we are perfect. And this I copy from, Google. That's not mine. But it's just like sometimes we need to look at ourselves with this positive thing. I'm saying this because I talk a lot about bad thing here that we may have done, right? So, but in the other way, at the end of the day, the judge is our conscience, right? That was, put together by the Creator, God. Reincarnation is seen as a mechanism of cause and effect, past action, influence present circumstance. And in the book, the Gospel, we have a chapter 5 that talk about present and past cause of suffering, and talking about if we observe everything, if you go to a situation that we feel that really we are suffering and we cannot find the cause in this lifetime, most likely the cause was the previous lifetime. This law teaches accountability and the importance of free will. I know that we have a talk 2 weeks ago about free will with our dear Julio Padovan, and at the end of his talk, what he did, he killed free will, right? Today, I mean, resurrection free will. So we're gonna be back and forth, and I don't know if Julio is watching that, but we understand his point. And the other point that I'm bringing here about free will is the capability that we have to make decisions. I have the free will to right now put the mic here and walk away. I can do that, but I'm not gonna do it because you are amazing people here, right? So I'm not gonna do that. But this is we are talking about free will in a sense of the day-to-day life, right? I have the free will to, like, tell my wife, well, guess what? Tomorrow I'm gonna go back to Brazil. Either you come with me or you stay here. But I'm not gonna do because I love her, right? You see, that's a good line, right? I'm gonna charge for that. Yeah, quick fix, right? Ah, yes. Okay, so let's move on. Moral responsibility, right? Before I got in trouble here. Okay, Spiritism links causality to ethics. So we already talking about ethics. Every action carries consequence. Be ethical. In fact, I read a little bit about this word ethic. Was something that was created 2,500 years ago. Because before there is no certain thing as ethical, right? I look at, like, I don't know, a property, I will go there and stealing, right? So it was something that was very common because there is no laws. The civil laws was not there yet. When the civil law came with Moses, right, with all the laws that he brought, 10 Commandments, the other 600 laws, and from that moment we start to organize ourselves to protect our village, our community, right? And that's we create our codes, né? law that we have. This type of law was a boost of the human laws happened with the Roman Empire. Roman Empire, right? They were the one that create the laws that we have nowadays. I mean, we have been perfecting the law, right? So if you look at other type of people, like for example the Greeks brought to us philosophy, right? Look at the Egyptians brought to us, math and arts, right? All the type of knowledge that we have nowadays. So the Romans, they implement the law, the civil laws that we have nowadays. Suffering and joy are not arbitrary, but rooted in past cause, right? So we may look at, like, oh, why my neighborhood has this type of life and my life is miserable, or vice versa. Why I have somehow been lucky in this life, but my colleague is not. I mean, depends how you look at the situation, because we look at a lot of external thing and we assume that because people has property, has material thing, they are happier, and not necessarily, right? Not necessarily. May help to be happy, right? Help a lot, right? But that's at the end of the day what we have learned to a lot of testimonial people that has money is that they are not happy, right? They are not happy. So that's in fact we learn through Spiritism. There is a question in the Spirit's book that the Kardec asked the question about, be rich and be poor. And the Spirit said that be rich is a real trial compared to be poor. Because if you become poor, like in terms of material thing, you don't have anything to lose. You already lost everything. But when you come with resource, you can really distract and miss the opportunity that you have in that reincarnation, right? Understand this principle foster compassion, forgiveness, and self-improvement. That's the goal. So cause and effect is not limited to the physical. And we already mentioned when we brought the difference between action and reaction, cause and effect. So when we translate this law of cause and effect to our life, we are talking about how we behave, our emotion, the relationship that we have one another, how we treat others, how we think about others. Because sometimes we are at home watching the news and instead pray and help for the difficult things that we see, we start to judge and send mental dart. Mental dart. This is impacting, the way the law of cause and effect will act upon us. Because if you send this will come back at somehow, this reincarnation, that reincarnation. But because we are learning how to control our emotion, how to use our intelligence, is inside of this level. And that's why we are in the planet Earth, a planet of trial and expiation. Well, that is not, what is the other word for expiation? Atonement, right? So it's a planet that we have, majority of us is still struggling to 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 have a good life, to understand why, right? So it's the universal law. Govern moral, intellectual, and spiritual dimension. So the same thing, the universal law, whatever happened in the planet Earth, often happen in other galaxies, Jupiter's, other solar system, is the same because it's a universal law, right? Now, what changed is the civil law, the physical law, like civil, not physical, because the physical should be the same over there. And there is type of laws that we don't know yet. There is laws, there is emotion in other galaxies and planet that we have no idea. How many emotion we have right now, according to the expert, Paula? I mean, ask Paula because she's a psychologist, and I want 200. Too many. Yeah, last time I checked was almost, 200 type of emotion, right, that we have, that the expert has put together. So in another planet, other spirit that's more evolved, there is emotions that we have no idea there is. In the book, what is the book, Kirsten? In the one that was about the tsunami. Leo, you did that study, huh? Planetary transition, I think there is a passage over there that when the tsunami was happening, that disaster, natural disaster that happened in 2004, so group of spirit was there helping in the transition of people that was dying in that during the tsunami, and they have some spirit that came from other spiritual colonies to help, and the spirit Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, right? So he was very, I mean, what happened when we see those, we feel very touched, right? And we feel sad, we feel disappointed with what happened. And those group of spirit, they are like perfect fine. And Manuel Filomeno de Miranda turned to them and say, wow, you don't feel touched by what happened, this tragic thing? And the spirit said to Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, we already conquered this type of emotion you guys experience. So the spirit was not diminish our emotion. For example, I'll tell you one example here. So for example, if someone come to you, your boss, and say, you are fired, people is gonna react in different way. Someone is gonna cry, someone is gonna become aggressive. Is our emotion, is the way we act upon that situation. So those type of spirit, and they're going to be fired. You're fired. They say, well, okay, thanks so much. It was very great to work with you. Please call me when you need me. I mean, just pretend here. But I'm telling that they already conquered those type of emotion. So why I'm saying this? Because when we talk about moral, intellectual, and spiritual dimension, we are talking about the physical and also the moral part of the intelligence being of the creation, that is us, spirit. This universal law ensures justice and harmony in the divine order. Yeah, is important. I mean, although we may look at the universe and there is the physical thing that's happened. We look at the planet Earth and there is tsunamis and natural disaster. So all this is is part of this universal order that exists. We may not see, we may see as, and we have in the Spirit's book, the law of destruction is a law. The law of destruction is a law. So it's part of being in this creation that we are immersed by the Creator. So to conclude, the principle of causality, as taught in Spiritism, is a guided law of the universe. Encompass the whole universe, millions of galaxies and solar system, and us, the little planet called Earth that we are living for now, because we're not going to stay here forever, right? We're going to move to a more advanced one. And what's the most advanced planet in the solar system according to the spirits? Do you know? Saturn, Jupiter? Jupiter, yeah. According to the teaching, they say that Jupiter it was the lowest one. I mean, it's not planet anymore. Pluto is the one that very, yes. It's not a planet anymore. What was yeah, it was not a planet. It's okay. It reveals that nothing is by chance, that we are responsible for our destiny, and that spiritual growth comes from understanding and applying this law in our daily life. So thank you guys, question and answer. So for reference, this is the books that we mentioned in the beginning. The action reaction has some cases very interesting, like for example, mitigate that, right? So spirit that has great amount of debt and they came and they are not able to complete, to pay, but they did things in their life to help others, that debt was diminished. That is redeemed debt, which means that people that realize, I would say that realize mean when we are on the other side before reincarnate, right? And came to the planet Earth, they went through their life and they did everything by the book. They nailed and they redeemed that, right? And there is those that we call aggravated debt. That is those that came here only to pay $100 and left with $1,000 in debt. The case is like amazed, right? Amazed type of case. I mean, amazed for positive and negative in the sense of the story. So guys, I will stop here. You will have 5-10 minutes to ask question and comment. And then if I cannot answer, I'm sure the answer is here. Kissing.
Great talk, Daniel. I'm not just being the first person to answer the question because we're married, just to be clear. So you mentioned something that really made me think, and I wanted to know if you could elaborate a little bit more. You mentioned, I don't know if you misspoke, but you mentioned that once we die, that we no longer, because we no longer have the physical body as we know it, that we no longer have that self-preservation. So that got me thinking that oftentimes, anxieties are somehow linked to that self-preservation because you fear, because ultimately the fear, as Joanna says, the ultimate fear is death. So with that in mind, would you say that then once we pass, then we would cease to have anxieties about the future? However, there are people that are still living. We have cases where there are spirits that, in the book, Memoirs of a Suicide, there are cases of suicides who continuously try to take their life on the other side. They don't even know that they're dead. They still keep trying to So could you elaborate?
Very good, Kissing. Yes. No. So short answer, we don't cease to have those because we are talking about our emotional part. So our emotion, in fact, when we come back to this life, we bring those emotions. It's called emotional memories, right? We don't get rid of that. Why? Because those memories is rooted in our spiritual body. It's in the spirit. So either the spirit in the physical body or in the spirit form with the spiritual body. Okay, I'll go back. So we are the three-dimensional beings, right? We are a spirit that has a spiritual body that is in a physical body, right? So when we die, we don't have the physical body anymore because the physical body perished, right? But we continue to have the spiritual body. In Spiritism, we call this perispirit. So what happened is all the memories that we, the spirit, has from past and current life is storage in the spirit, in the mental, the mind of the spirit. That is the spirit, and it's connected to our physical body. And so when we lose the physical body, all the memories that it is here physically, and we say physically, in fact, they are stored in the physical body. So there is an upload of those information back to the spiritual body. That's why when people go to the process of die, there is everybody that has the near-death experience, they come back and they are like, oh, my life starts to go through it's like a movie, right? It's the upload of the information, uploading back to the spiritual body. Either you go all the way back, or so, but the emotion is there already. So when we lose our physical body, if we are here and if we have anxiety, if we are fear, we express this in the other side. We don't change completely, right? Because there is a physical process that is done now here. For example, if I learn something today, right? I learn how to kick. So of course, the mechanism that rules that kick is done by my central nervous system, right? So I learn how to do that. But let's just think about, okay, I lost my leg. But guess what? I have what we call phantom experience. I'm still kicking, but I don't have the leg. So why is that? Oh, because that information was codified in our brain. The information is there. So that's why there are people that doesn't have a limb, and when they lose that limb, they have experience that they still have that limb, right? The information is in the stories in the brain. But then when we die, all the information, all the skills, and whatever we learn past life, in this life, is stored in the perispirit, right? That is immediately connect with the spirit. So no, we don't get rid of that, right? We have I don't know if I answer your question, but it's just to say that we don't become an angel when we go to the other side. Whatever we are here, we may, okay, with example, we say like this, for example, someone that die, that, has pain, and we say, okay, now the person is not feeling pain the other side. Maybe true, because we are talking about physical pain. Now that the person that has the physical pain, they're not going to experience pain the other side. Let's translate this to emotion. But does emotion also cause pain on us? Yes or no? So we may not have any pain here, but my life, the way I live my life, was so detrimental, was so bad, that the guilt that I have is translated to the other side as a pain. So the definition of pain is relative, because we have psychological pain, we have physical pain, we have emotional pain. Thank you. Yeah. So we have so many type of pain, because pain is a feeling that the spirit has, either through the physical body, we call physical pain, or through the experience that we have in our life. Yes, I think it was If not, we can discuss this more later. Anyone? Now I can see some books here. Dr. Paula, go easy.
You can go easy on me too.
Yeah.
No, it was a great talk, and I really wish we'd talk about death more. So I'm just encouraging you not to be
Okay.
hestant when you bring it up. And it's not because I'm so close to it. I just,
Well, you never know, because we here may go tomorrow and
You
she'll
don't
stay
know.
here for 20 years, 30 years.
that's true. And I can't remember the Native American, but in line with what you were saying, the person, I'll try to quote it, just because you're dead, it doesn't mean you're smart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you
Yeah.
just drop your body like we have in No Solar with all the schools you go
Yeah.
to. My question is on thought. When Julio was speaking and he had his chart up, we had the human life where you need to have physical evidence before the law is broken and you get in trouble. In the spiritual world, your thoughts matter because there's going to be an immediate consequence. Wouldn't that also be true in the human world? Because don't thoughts, they're a frequency. So if I'm thinking, even though I'm not saying it, isn't that affecting my psychosphere?
Yes, it is. And we need to advance in terms of scientific discovering to realize that. Perfect. Yes. Yes, because the the fact that we have the physical body, and I think that's something that medicine, physics, all this, it will uncover this, move forward. Because now we decode how communication happen, right? So right now here, how many frequencies of radio frequency, like cell phone frequency, TV, are here right now? Do you guys see? So it's the same rationale for our thoughts. We don't see yet, right? But we'll reach a point, and we already have this in the nosso lar, right? We have the psychoscope, now. That's that instrument that see what we think. We right now we don't have yet the ethical or the morality to have those type of things to really observe. But doesn't mean that we do not receive those vibration. For example, I'm at home, sitting over there, suddenly I'm start to feel like, irritate. Where this come from? You may say, could be a spirit. If it is a spirit, is acting our thought. Could be someone that is talk bad about you, is affecting, because for you to have that, you need to be in the same frequency. Same frequency. If you have a cell phone, if it is not in the frequency of the closest tower that we have here, the cell phone tower, you're not going to get the call, right? If you have a radio, you need to tune in that station. Oh, I wanted to listen classic music, but you are putting the heavy metal, you're going to listen heavy metal. There is no other way you can listen. So, classic music. So, for us to understand, is like a lot of things that happens in our life, either can be the cause, since we talk about cause and effect, can be an intrinsic cause, which means it's coming from me. The way I'm think about the life is get my body sick, or could be an external influence that will affect us, but only it's going to affect because you be in the same frequency. That you are doing something in your life that put you in that frequency that we receive that. It's like if I give you a gift, you have two chances. One to say yes, thank you. The other one to say no, I don't want it to. So guess what? You're not gonna use that gift. If I send a thought to you that you're gonna die tomorrow because you just said that you're close to die, I'm joking, Paula. So if you take that as something, true, you're gonna live here very worried, very depressed. You're not gonna do that because I'm not saying that, right? That you're gonna
I
die.
believe what you said about dying. It's okay. I so worried.
Okay. No. Yeah. So I guess is we are still need to advance in terms of to I agree with you what you said, and I believe as a spiritist, I believe that there is those influence that happens all the time for us. And guess what? Because we are not perfect yet, we are not evolved, I wouldn't say perfect, evolved yet. So we capture those. And also we generate those thoughts. That's why thought is a key thing for health, like to be healthy, right? In terms of the
Just
physical body.
And just to tag on to your comments about meditation, I think another value of meditation, it's like you get very familiar with thoughts, and also you see
True.
thoughts come and go,
True.
and then you get a different relationship with thoughts. So I think that's why it's gaining more in popularity, and it just will help humanity evolve.
Yeah,
Thank
very good. Yeah, true. Any question over there in the?
No questions.
Yes.
I would
thank
like
you.
to ask one though.
Yeah, I never know. I don't want to be.
So
Okay, go ahead.
Daniel, I'm gonna change the words a little bit. I'm gonna use the word action first, and then there's a second question right after. But with all of this that we have, this understanding of the cause and effect, action and reaction, what would be the way to act in a way, a positive way, okay? And understanding our condition right now, and we know that most of the time our actions are not the perfect one. How do we mitigate the effects of our bad actions? So number one, how do we act well, right? So that we don't see the bad consequences. And if it is something that we have done, that we will know the effects, and we already know the effects, or we're going through the effects, how to mitigate the effects.
Thank you, Lou, for this question. Here is a short answer. This is a personal experience. No matter what I say here, the 7-step to act to 3 or 100 is not gonna. I mean, it could be a guideline, but at the end of the day, it's a personal experience how to act according to God's law, right? So, but in the same way, long answer now. We already have, since Jesus walked this planet, the moral code. It's just that he got the 10 Commandments and he summarized in how many? Now, the 10 Commandments, Jesus summarized in how many commandments? 2. The first one, love God above everything and love your neighbor as yourself. So it's like if you have, it's like X, Y. And then you put like, that's the way. So that's the, it's not me, is that, so we all already have the answer. Now, because of I just brought free will back from, from the grave because was killed, a resurrection. So I'm joking. Oh, go and watch Julius Padovan talk here in the Spirit Society of Baltimore about free will and the implication in our moral evolution. So go to the Spirit Network and watch his talk. Beautiful. He did was academic lecture he gave here. Excellent. About free will and how free will help us to evolve. Because we have the free will, why I'm said personal experience? Because no matter how much I tell my son that do X and Z is not gonna, he need to experience that. So at some time, it's good to let the person experience a situation in order for them to act accordingly, will follow the God's law. That's why Jesus is not going to materialize here again. He's not going to come back again because he already was here and he left everything that we needed. If we are not implementing his teaching, it's because we have our free will that we just brought back from the grave, right? We choose not to, right? It is a process that we need to go through. Now, can we optimize or speed this up, as you asked the question? Yes. And a great example is enroll yourself with people with a community that will help you to act well. Because if I'm only go out with people that doesn't want to implement any divine law, there is no motivation for me to do, because I'm fine with that. But if I start to study, to reading, to observing, to engage with a community of people that is doing things that will make our life better, automatically I'll embrace that type of lifestyle. Now, the true moment that really has incorporated that is that when you don't have that support system, that we are by yourself, and then that you're gonna, so I'm not gonna do this because in me, Daniel, it's not because my community says, it's not because the ethical code, it's my moral code that is speaking loud now. Because we act because of the ethical code that we have in our society, right? That's why I mentioned about the speed limit. So if we are breaking the two and the speed limit, this means because our morality, I mean, in terms of the civil law, is not there yet. But the moment we see a camera or so we obey. That's the ethical part that we already have. Because some people, even ethical, they are not ethical because they break the law, they go through that situation no matter what, right? But I guess, Lewis, it's a personal experience, and we all can give testimony for ourselves to ourselves. Right? I don't know if this exists, but I hope you guys understood that. Last question. If not, we're going to move on to our passes. Okay, great. Guys, again, thank you so much. And really, this topic and all the topics that we bring here every Saturday, it is, as Leo asked the question, it is a tool that we offer as, the Spiritist of Baltimore. And it's up to you to implement this in your life, to bring this to your family, your workplace. There is no expectation that you're going to come here and be like 100%. Nobody's going to judge. Nobody's going to judge you here. But it's a personal responsibility that we have with one another. Never forget, love, cause, and effect is like acting all the time in our lives. So for us to have good effect, better we think about what we do nowadays so the future can bring good results to us. With that, thanks so much. We're going to move on to our passes. I'm going to do a little visualization, prayer, and then we're going to call you here in the front to receive the passes. For those that are online, see you. Thank you for joining us. And please click the like button over there. Spread this news. And I hope I see you next Saturday.